I'm gonna just do auto start on YouTube. I don't think I have anything on YouTube that's gonna get us knocked off of YouTube again. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Holy smokes! What the hell's going on here? What is this, Daphne?
You might think that Americans never ever use the metric system.
Thank you.
But that is not the case.
For gifting a sub.
In fact, American students get to experience the metric system firsthand with a 9mm.
That one does not get old. Unfortunately. Yeah. All right, on to the news.
Tonight on PBS News Weekend, as the pause in fighting in Gaza takes hold, Israel awaits the return of their hostages,
all right, this is what I want to get
thousands of Palestinians return to the ruins of their homes. Then the latest progress and what's on the horizon for preventing and treating breast cancer. And in our weekend spotlight, best-selling author Mitch Albom talks about his latest book, his writing process, and giving back.
All right, I think we're going to watch PBS NewsHour for the intro.
Even if you have
for much else,
magical ability to go back in time and change it, you might
not that these topics are not important.
And you might find that you miss what you learned from what you thought.
Oh, hold on. What did I miss on CBS Saturday morning? Hold on. CBS Saturday morning. Let me see. What did they have on here today? Just the aviation safety. 18 missing. Oh, I need this. Okay, I need this. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you. Put that somewhere over here, I think. No. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. All right. No. I don't. Shit. Oh, no, it's over here. Okay, I put it too far up. Okay, I don't want that one. What else am I doing? Oh my god. Oh god. Okay. They're redoing Matlock? Okay. I might want that and this. But we'll see. Alright. Going back. Let's play this. Oh, we're doing the sponsor part.
To make white and white cup.
Get to the table, John.
Verified Fanatic to active friend from view.
11 of the government shut down, and there are still no signs of efforts to end the congressional stalemate that's blocking federal funding. President Trump says he's directed the Defense Department to use all available funds to make sure U.S. troops are paid on time on Wednesday. Tomorrow, the Smithsonian Museum...
Wait, hold on. He did what? All available funds to get our troops paid on October 15th. Because there's a viral image of soldiers lining up at food banks because they weren't going to get paid, so they needed to get food.
Are paid on time on Wednesday.
Chuck Schumer recently said every day gets better during the radical left shutdown. I disagree. If nothing is done, is because of leader Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. Meanwhile, he's the fucking president, man. And Trump knows what happens if troops aren't paid. I mean, it's not like they're getting paid millions of dollars anyway, man. They barely got enough to afford the fucking Camaro that they're underwater on. Like, come on, man.
Wednesday. Tomorrow, the Smithsonian Museums and the National Zoo will close as they run out of the unspent prior year funds they've been using to keep the doors open. The president's trying to increase pressure on Democrats, saying he'll pick and choose which furloughed workers get back pay and slash programs Democrats care about. The administration is also moving ahead with plans for mass firings. On Friday, federal workers began receiving notices telling them that they'll be laid off in 60 days. The administration says that more than 4,100 workers will be fired across 7 agencies. The move's being challenged in court. Authorities say there are no survivors from a blast that leveled an explosives plant in Tennessee Friday. They say it's not clear yet how many people died, though earlier they said 18 people were missing. Actress and producer Diane Keaton has died, PBS News has confirmed. Over her long career, she won acclaim for roles in films as varied as The Godfather and Annie Hall, for which she won an Academy Award. Keaton was 79 years old.
What, the Tennessee blast? I got something on the Tennessee blast.
In the Middle East, there's relief in both Israel and Gaza as the pause in fighting appears to be holding. In Tel Aviv, Haggai Angrest eagerly anticipates the return of his son, kidnapped soldier Matan Angrest.
We are very exciting.
As a kidnapped soldier from a military base, wouldn't that be a POW? I'm just, the way, okay.
Waiting for our son and for all the 48 hostages. Want to many thanks for President Trump. He did it, and all the American teams.
In Gaza, Palestinians stream north on foot toward Gaza City. Their relief is tempered by the magnitude of the destruction.
I'm happy that there is no blood, no killing. People can sleep in calm and are reassured. Now when the war is over, where will we go? I am displaced in a government area building, but we have to move from there. Where will we go?
As Israeli forces pull back in Gaza, relief organizations prepare to move in with desperately needed aid. Before the ceasefire took hold, Foreign Affairs correspondent Nick Schifrin spoke with Antoine Renard, the World Food Program's director for the Palestinian territories.
We have seen over the last 2 years, since the October 7th terrorist attack, enormous suffering in Gaza. From your perspective, how bad is the suffering today compared to in the past?
Today in Gaza City, you have 400,000 people that are being cut off from the rest of the Gaza Strip. We went with our team actually to also ensure what were the conditions out there. On the 22nd of August, the famine conditions were actually confirmed in the area of Gaza City. And what we've managed to do over the last month is actually to bring more volume of assistance into Gaza and the Gaza Strip. You have on an average, now 2 meals per day, while it used to be 1 meal per day just, 2 months ago. But yet, what was the area that was most at risk? You have 400,000 people that are being trapped, and there's no more assistance that is reaching them.
So explain that shift over the last month. How many more trucks are being allowed in, and are they reaching the people who needed the aid the most?
The World Food Program has been working actually since end of July, is to have at least on an average 100 trucks at minimum per day. Out of all the trucks that have managed to enter into Gaza over the last few weeks, WFP has been doing practically a third of all of those. What we've managed to bring is more than 55,000 metric tons of food over the last 2 months. To give you a reality of what it is, it's a third of just the staple food that people require in Gaza. But that is not enough, because you need also to have the proper fresh food that is out there. People are not just relying on canned food and wheat flour. They're required to have proper access to fruits, to vegetables, to meats, to dairy products. So the reality is that we managed to bring a bit more, but at the same time, it is not enough. In North Gaza, clearly the conditions, famine conditions are out there. Since the 12th of September, we did not manage to actually bring the food as we were in the recent weeks. In central and south of Gaza, you actually have more goods that are coming in. The problem that you have is that those that were recently displaced, how are they going to afford it? Just to go from Gaza City all the way down. Some people actually have to borrow sometime up to $1,000. You might have more food on the market. You might have more capacity for people to get the food there, but they can't afford it. And that is the biggest challenge that we have.
Can you give us a little bit more detail on the people of Gaza City? Obviously, we have been seeing images of people who are struggling with malnutrition, children who health authorities say have died from famine, from hunger. How does it compare today to what you've seen in the past?
I mean, I was in Gaza at the end of July and beginning of August. I went again to Gaza City, meeting the same families. They see the children which actually don't want to be waked up because they actually don't even know if they're going to have a proper meal on a daily basis. That's what they're telling me. And they feel such a deja vu of these things that have happened again and again. That's why more than ever in Gaza City, we require the assistance to reach the population and at scale.
The people who have gone down to Deir al-Balah, gone down to the south, how great are the needs of the recently displaced who have left Gaza City, and how much are you able to get to them?
Well, one of the challenges that you have every time that you are being displaced is that you lose assets. You need potentially...
It's crazy how, like, you know, World Food Program, and I'm sure UNRWA is going to get back into motion, or is already back in motion. These are the programs that Israel, for the last however many months, probably year and a half now, maybe the whole 2 years, I don't remember now, have been telling us that these are actually the guys that are the problem with food distribution in the Gaza Strip. That the GHF was the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or whatever it was called, was the right one, because, you know, it was Israel that was doing it. It was the West that had command of everything. They immediately, like, dissolved, like, all of those camps, all of those, like, kill zone corridors that they have built for GHF. GHF just doesn't exist now.
To again find a tent, if there is any tent on the market. Many of them are actually worth more than $1,200 just to find a simple shelter where to go. You need again to see where is the queue for any of the hot meals that are out there. Where is the access to the water? Where is the medical area? So all of these people again are struggling just to find the basics.
And on the flip side, are you ready to surge humanitarian assistance?
The reality is that we have all the food, being in Egypt, being in Israel, being in Jordan, and we have all the teams that are on the ground. As we speak, we have more than 100 staff that are actively reinstating bread in many areas, reinstating nutrition, because people deserve to actually have the bare minimum. We have food out there for the next 3 months. We are ready, and we will make it happen.
Antoine Leonard, thank you very much.
Thanks
That's
to
amazing.
you.
Still to come on PBS News Weekend, the latest progress in the fight against breast cancer, and our weekend spotlight on author and humanitarian Mitch Albom.
This is PBS News.
Oh man, yeah, we have, actually, I have a lot more on Gaza, but oh yeah, let me get to the blast that happened. Hold on. Okay, no, not this. Where's the... Did I move that somewhere else? Where did it go? That's not it. Oh, this. Okay.
Authorities say that 18 people are now missing or feared dead after a devastating blast at a military explosives plant in rural Tennessee. People miles away reported feeling the explosion that leveled the plant located about an hour southwest of Nashville. The ATF's National Response Team is expected to arrive to the scene this morning. That's where our Nicole Valdez is. Good morning, Nicole.
Michelle, look, there are more than a dozen families right now still anxiously waiting for news on the men and women who were inside that building. Officials tell us some have died, but won't say just how many. One person officials originally thought was inside when the blast happened was actually found at home. However, the search for the now 18 remaining is still going.
Yeah, they actually already ended the search. They all died.
Had an explosion at Accurate Arms. Everybody is en route.
The Friday morning explosion devastated the Accurate Energetic Systems military explosives facility located about 60 miles southwest of Nashville. As first responders desperately searched for survivors, the cause of the explosion remained under investigation.
Trying to figure out and recreate or figure out what actually happened to cause this. Do I see a short-term explanation? No. Do I see us being here for many days? Yes, I do see that.
Authorities said there was no danger of more explosions and the scene was brought under control. Residents reported feeling the impact even miles away from the facility, which makes military-grade explosives and munitions, including TNT. Video shows flames and heavy smoke rising from the debris. The explosion so large it shook homes miles away. All that remained, smoking debris and charred cars nearby. This security video captured the moment of the blast.
There's nothing to describe. It's gone. It's the most devastating scene that I've seen in my career.
That's crazy. The explosives at the bomb-making factory exploded.
At least 4 people were taken to the
hospital. How could this happen to us?
The investigation could take weeks, according to officials who are urging people to stay away from the area.
We're sitting in here and talking with these victims. I'm looking across these families, and I can tell you right off
it's only okay when the bombs explode on people not in this country.
There's 3 families that's involved in this that I'm very close to.
And you heard it right there. Officials say they still don't know what caused this blast, and they admit that that question could take days, if not weeks, to answer. Dana?
And so many thinking of those families out there. Nicole, thank you.
I would like to know what was the issue there, like what actually happened. But yeah, other news from this week. If you have a circumcision, you might have autism, according to RFK.
So old Brainworm Jr. said circumcision causes autism, and I believe it. I do, and you know why? It's because I'm easily led astray, that's why. And I'm thankful every single day I didn't take them TISM tablets as a kid. Don't get me wrong, I'm cut down there, I'm just tough. And I remember the day, I was just 2 days old. My mom said, "Hey, son, do you want to get cut down there?" And I said, hell no. What kind of question is that, Mom? And she said, "It'll help you have less smegma." And I said, "I don't want to play less video games." And she said, "No, not Sega Genesis, smegma Genesis. That starts in the foreskin. That's a little retractable part on your hog. We can leave it and it'll look like a really tight hoodie, or we can peel it back like a convertible, and we just want to snip it and give you a permanent convertible down there. Does that sound good?" And I said, hell
the uncut
yeah.
gems.
Hell yeah, I want me a convertible down there. I said, "Doc, come on in here and give me that high and tight." So the next thing you know, the doctor peels my diaper back. He takes one look at me and he says, "Hey, nurse, we're going to need the big saw in here." That's what he said. He said the big saw. So an hour and 2 saw blades later, I was cut. And he said, "You nurses, make sure you dispose of this foreskin properly. We don't want Buffalo Bill coming in here and making 2 to 3 skin suits out of this." And then he turned to me, and he had good bedside manner. He said, "Son, this looks like it hurts. You want some TISM tablets for the pain?" I said, hell no, Doc. That'll give me autism. Just dip my pacifier in some hydrocodone every once in a while, and I'll be fine, but I digest. I'm thankful every single day I didn't take them TISM tablets. I dodged a bullet. Because if I took them, I'd be socially awkward. I'd be hyper-fixated on a topic, something like the president, just the current one. So today I'm raising my emotional support beer to Garbage Disposal Voice Jr. for saying what nobody was thinking.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you. Oh yeah, disinformation tracker. Ethan Klein bought the shock collar Hassan Piker is accused of using on his dog and tried it on himself. He immediately discovered the collar isn't designed to be painful and likely isn't what made Hassan's dog yelp. Gila tries to get Ethan to say it was painful, but he admits it wasn't. Wow. Am I supposed to be surprised?
Hello. Berlin nightlife. Ooh.
Trust me, they sound slightly different over there.
Alright, I'm going up to 15. Shock me, Daddy. Ooh. Ooh.
Power that divided the left. Yeah, I like how you put the left, quote unquote.
Daddy.
Because Loki, why is it German themed? I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't know what happens on this podcast. I never really watched it, even when Hassan was on there. So I don't. I guess Oktoberfest. Yeah, maybe they're doing an Oktoberfest thing because I see a big giant mug in front of Gila. But yeah, divided the left. All it did, like this was like a narrative that was pushed by H3H3. Like they like that was the first time that I saw it, and I was like, oh, I forgot that I'm following them on Threads, and I was like, unfollow. And then like an hour or two later, like it started blowing up everywhere, and I was like, this is just a stupid ass topic. Like it doesn't like obviously if they're the ones pushing it, it's just a narrative that they're trying to push to make us sound look bad. Which I mean, whatever.
We heard you. We heard you yell.
Yeah, it didn't. It was more. It wasn't super painful, but I didn't hold it down. I couldn't hold it down on myself. Yeah. Right.
Oh, he didn't hold it down. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that part even matters. We heard you.
All for $7 Hasbara bucks. Yeah, do you think he? Yeah, I mean, like that was the other thing. I was like, how much money are they? 7K in Hasbara bucks. Yeah. How much money did they spend in trying to, drag Hassan? How much? There's an obviously concerted effort to try and get Hassan put in a bad light, and the people that already hate him, they hate him anyway. So you're not going to convince people that hate him to hate him more, and you're not going to convince the people that do like him already to hate him. Like it's not going to happen. Like why? Like their accounts I had to unfollow. Yeah, there's people that just like either they're super gullible, just like this guy was saying.
Jr. said circumcision causes autism, and I believe it. I do, and you know why? It's because I'm easily led astray.
I'm easily led astray. Like it's either people that are easily led astray or people that already were on that side to begin with. So, it's just a bullshit excuse to try and drag him even more. The nuke, the content nuke, and I believe it. Yeah, the content nuke didn't do it. Then I don't know what's gonna do it. So whatever. Anyways, Venezuela's Iron Lady, Marina Corina Machado, wins the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Nobel Committee says the decision was made based on principles of Alfred Nobel, the bomb maker. Wasn't he a bomb maker? Alfred Nobel, bomb maker. Yeah, he invented dynamite and other more powerful explosives. Love the boom boom. Go. We on go.
And while dashing the hopes of U.S. President Donald Trump, Venezuela's opposition leader and democracy activist Maria Corina Machado has won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Machado has largely been in hiding since last year's presidential elections after refusing to bow out when Nicolas Maduro declared victory in a U.S. and EU criticized election. The Nobel Peace Prize, worth $1.2 million, is due to be presented in Oslo on December 10th, the anniversary of the death of Swedish industrialist Alfred Nobel, who founded the awards in his 1895 will. Here's more in our next report.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 goes to a brave and committed champion of peace, to a woman who keeps the flame of democracy burning amidst a growing darkness.
The flames of democracy burning.
Has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 to Maria Corina Machado. As the leader of the democratic forces in Venezuela, Maria Corina Machado is one of the most extraordinary examples of civilian courage in Latin America in recent times.
Maria Corina Machado is often called Venezuela's Iron Lady for her fight for democracy against a brutal authoritarian state. She is seen as an example of civilian courage in Latin America in recent times. Machado emerged as a key figure in a political opposition that was once deeply divided, an opposition that found common ground in the demand for free elections and representative government. A qualified industrial engineer, she served as a member of the National Assembly of Venezuela from 2011 to 2014. Machado entered politics in 2002 as a founder of the vote monitoring organization SUMAT. She is the national coordinator of the political party Vente Venezuela. In 2023, Machado won the opposition primary election to become the unity candidate for the 2024 Venezuelan presidential election. She was promptly declared ineligible by authorities loyal to Maduro. She was barred from challenging Maduro in 2020.
They call her the Iron Lady, like Margaret Thatcher?
For elections and then detained and released after seeking to fire up resistance to the Venezuelan leader. She embraced the reluctant candidacy of González Urrutia.
Okay, I see why the United States is like not super upset about this.
Always dressed in white, she often appears at rallies with multiple rosaries around her neck, gifts from adoring supporters. Machado won the Nobel despite US President Donald Trump leading a public campaign to win this award. Interestingly, Trump had posted on Truth Social in support of the Venezuelan leaders.
Venezuelan democracy activist Maria Corina Machado and President-elect González are peacefully expressing the voices and the will of the Venezuelan people, with hundreds and thousands of people demonstrating against the regime. I don't think that's happening, honestly. The great Venezuela... somewhere a Scottish person rages at Thatcher's name, yeah. The great Venezuelan American community that Trump's trying to blow up, by the way, and is currently blowing up in the United States, overwhelmingly supports a free Venezuela. Also, like, we're deporting Venezuelans too, I'm pretty sure. And strongly supported me. These freedom fighters should not be harmed and must stay safe and alive.
Movement in January this year. Through the last few weeks, Trump has often claimed credit for what he calls brokering 7 peace deals. He also suggested that the Nobel Committee will find a reason not to award him the prize. The US president even said he deserved it like no other, but the Nobel Committee thought otherwise.
During the past months, US President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
Honestly, like, this is just right-wingers giving other right-wingers awards, right? This is all this is.
We have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what
yes.
means to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates.
This is literally like the Obama, like, giving himself the Medal of Freedom
we base only our
meme.
decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
The Nobel announcement comes as the United States has increasingly carried out strikes off its shore in
Man, how could he have not gotten the Peace Prize? Look at him blowing shit up, man.
This military action has killed at least 21 people in recent
Nobel
weeks.
would have been proud of that,
Washington
man.
accused Maduro of leading a drug cartel and does not recognize him as the country's legitimate leader. Bureau Report Beyond, World is One.
How could he have lost? There's always next year, I guess. Yeah, here anyways, here speaking of Trump. Oh my god, 14 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna watch all of this.
President Trump is actually taking questions right now. Let's listen.
No, actually I'm not gonna watch any of this. Let's skip to some propaganda, I guess. Families of hostages in Gaza await their release.
The release of Israeli hostages potentially just hours away. Families gathered this week.
Yeah, you're not the
in Tel Aviv's
legitimate leader,
Hostage
says the
Square to
projecting man.
celebrate the news of the agreement between Israel and Hamas to end the war in Gaza. The deal, brokered by President Trump, would see the remaining hostages returned home within 72 hours. Ali Bauman has more on the families anxiously awaiting to see their loved ones after more than 2 years. Ali, good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Israel
Why
says
is it going
48
so slow?
hostages are still in Gaza, 20 of them believed to be alive.
I
After
gotta
2
get up on this.
agonizing years, their
There we
families
go.
are waiting to learn if their relatives will truly
that was
return
me.
and in what condition. Former Israeli hostage Ohad Ben Ami chanced the Shabbat prayer in Tel Aviv Friday alongside the mother of Matan Zangokar, who has been held captive in Gaza since October 7th.
Why?
In Hebrew, she says, these are tense days, hours, minutes, and seconds filled with anxiety. It is a feeling familiar to Ruby Hen.
On one hand, excitement because we see the finish line, anticipation, but also anxiety.
The New York native does not know if his son, American-Israeli teenager Itai Hen, will return alive. The family had previously been told by the Israeli military that he was presumed dead, but Hamas has not given an update.
We still have that glimmer of hope that maybe some miracle happened, but we are preparing ourselves for the alternative.
The family of Yossi Sharabi hopes his body will be returned for burial.
It's a guarded optimism because it's the kind of optimism that's born out of...
It's going to be kind of a problem trying to uncover all of these bodies from the rubble of the buildings that Israel continuously demolished.
Hope lightly because we've had our hopes dashed before.
The hopeful and fearful anticipation gripping these families also held Jonathan Deckelhen before his son Sagi was released from captivity earlier this year.
The families are asking themselves, who's coming home exactly? What are they going to be like?
His son, he says, has just started to rehabilitate in his months of freedom.
He can.
Well, they kept bombing up to the final moments. Yeah, I expected that. I knew that was going to happen. But yeah, like you want the hostages back alive, right? Or I guess because they said that some of them are dead already. Then Israel's like, well, fuck it. I guess we'll just keep dropping bombs because they don't know.
For the hostages, Israel released 250 Palestinian prisoners who are serving life sentences and 1,700 people who have been arrested since the...
That's crazy. 250. So like almost 2,000 people are being let go. Why were they being held?
October 7th terrorist attack.
Certainly not the...
Okay, no. You see the way they phrase this? Hold on. So this whole 2.5 minutes was about the hostages that Hamas is holding, but when it comes to the hostages that Israel is holding, which is exponentially more, right? They're like, actually, they were serving life sentences.
Palestinian prisoners who are serving life sentences and 1,700 people who have been arrested since the October 7th.
And these 1,700 people, they were arrested since October 7th, so they were probably terrorists. Actually, no. Many of them were women and children. A lot of them were arrested with no charges. They were just being detained. So yeah, they were also being held hostage. And that's only a fraction of the 11,000 Palestinians that they're holding.
7th terrorist attack.
Certainly not the
Good.
end of this journey, just the next step for so many. Ali, thank you very much.
So they compact that into one sentence there at the end and give you 2.5 minutes of straight propaganda. Anyway, speaking of straight propaganda, here's Steve Witkoff. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Ivanka fresh from kissing the wall? Yeah, they all are.
I dreamed of this night. It's been a long journey.
And next year we'll do it again.
This is the most powerful sight I don't know how many people are out there. It's quite a bit, as I can tell. Looks like almost more than 100,000 people here tonight. All of our hearts beating as one.
Jared
gathered
scanning the
here in
room.
Tel Aviv for peace, for unity, and for hope in this sacred place we call Hostage Square.
He just doesn't want to end up like Charles. But it is Israel, you know. They do that.
I only wish the president was here. He would
Ask
love
the guy
this.
that was running against Netanyahu.
Thank you. Thank you. We stand here tonight, Jews,
Cringe? Yeah, I need this to go like
Muslims,
10x
and people
speed,
from
actually.
every corner of the world, united by one shared prayer for peace. Tonight,
There we go. That's better.
Tonight, we celebrate something extraordinary, a moment that many thought was impossible. Yet here we stand, living proof that when courage meets conviction, miracles can happen. A peace born not out of politics, but out of courage. The courage of those who refuse to give up hope.
Okay.
First and foremost, I want to honor the people of Israel. Your strength, your resilience, your unwavering spirit through unimaginable pain and
Courage and
loss.
conviction, yeah. Biden literally was Jimmy Carter.
You have carried the weight of hope on your shoulders for the entire world. You've prayed, you've persevered, and you've shown the world that
Biden
peace
who?
is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength.
I haven't heard that name in years.
Through heartbreak and fear, you never let go of the faith. Your courage and endurance.
Oh, I'm gonna keep
inspired
playing
the
this in the
world,
background,
and it was your
actually.
belief,
What your Biden
joined
might
with
be.
the bold leadership of my friend and president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, that made this peace possible.
Yeah, this piece here. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. That's a different piece. Here we go.
This moment was made through the tireless dedication of leaders who would not rest until the world saw what could be achieved. One of them standing right here with me, Jared Kushner.
I'm very happy for these children.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh.
They booed. They booed Netanyahu.
Okay. To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
You wasn't expecting that.
Okay, let me just finish my thought. I was in the trenches, guys. Let me just finish my thought. I was in the trenches with the Prime Minister. Believe me, he was a very important part here.
No, they're still booing. You're not going to win them over, man. You're not going to win them back. I'm sorry.
Prime
You're
Minister and
losing
his
the
staff,
crowd.
Ron Dermer included, have both. Okay.
He's like,
have both-
fuck it. One state
have both
solution. Get
sacrificed
out of
so
here.
much for this country and devoted their lives to the service of Israel. Their dedication to the history and destiny of this nation stands out tonight. They've given everything. Their
Is
time, their
liberal
energy, and their
Zionism
hearts
going to
building
defeat
a safer,
far-right
stronger future for the
Zionism?
Jewish people. Their commitment to this country
I
has
think
never
that's what
wavered
they
and never
want,
will.
right? They want
We
the
thank
status
you. The
quo. They
President
want to go
thanks
back
you.
to mowing the
Thank
lawn
you.
and whatnot.
And
that really is what they want. That's what these protesters have been wanting this entire time. Is not necessarily the end of the war on Gaza because they want their family members back and they want the good, for the good of the Palestinians. No, they don't care about the Palestinians, right? They just want to return to the status quo that was previous to October 7th. Where they would bomb Gaza, unendingly, whenever they wanted to, and just to do the same thing like they're doing in southern Lebanon right now with Hezbollah. Anytime they see something going on, some wrestling going on, they bomb the shit out of them. They kill a bunch of people, and then they go back and go back to brunch or whatever they were doing. That's the reality they want to return to. and be able to execute that without the criticisms of the citizens in the West. Back to apartheid, yes, exactly. Back to it, being the open air prison camp that Gaza was. That you can't leave without Israel's permission. You can't enter without Israel's permission. And the iron wall and everything that they built around it to keep people in. They want to go back to that. They want to go back to that status quo. Unfortunately, the reality is, I don't think you're going to go back to that. The stain that Israel has left on people is going to be eternal. Every day, more and more people find out what Israel has been doing, and more people get either disillusioned or disgusted with what's going on here and what has been going on here. They're just now starting to uncover the mass graves that are in Gaza, and it's going to be thousands of bodies. It's not going to get any better. The image of Israel is forever tainted,
Donald J. Trump.
even in the eyes of the people that believed it was for a good cause and whatnot. Thank you, Trump.
Thank you. To President Donald J. Trump, a man who is a humanitarian through and through.
Do they want Trump to be the president of Israel?
That bold leadership and moral clarity can reshape history and change the world. We all owe a debt of deep gratitude to President Trump. In the worst of times, he refused to accept the idea that peace in the Mideast was out of reach. He brought together nations once divided.
Everyone was mad about Hassan shocking Kaya. Wait till you see what the IOF did with their bombs to the pets of Gaza. Yeah.
History will remember that when others doubted, President Trump believed. He is the greatest president in American history.
Man.
He showed the world that strength and
he
peace
ended the 3,000 years of war.
To the Arab leaders and partners of ours who meant so much in this negotiation, including President Erdogan from Turkey, including Sheikh Mohammed from Qatar, including the Emir, including President Sisi, all of whom played a critical and integral role in this peace deal. I say thank you. Each of those Arab friends and partners of ours, each of them come from nations that chose reconciliation over resentment. Thank you for showing that the future of this region can be built not on the ashes of old hatred, but on the promise of shared hope. And now, from the depths of our hearts, we honor the families of the hostages. Each and every one of you have carried
Ivanka looks like she's had a ton of. She looks like Melania now.
Has touched me in ways that I have never been
touched
in my entire
lighting?
life.
It looks like she had a ton of work done.
You have. Thank you. Thank you. But if you keep me here all night, then Jared and Ivanka won't get to talk to you. Your courage has moved this world, I say to the families. You have prayed through endless nights and never let the world forget who your loved ones are. And in this way, you honor and you bless them. To the hostages themselves, our brothers and sisters,
crazy.
You are coming home. Your faces, your names, your stories have lived in every heart here tonight and in mine since I began this job. Your endurance, your faith, your will to live have been symbols of the human spirit that cannot ever be broken. And now,
just firing
as you
on
return to the
people.
embrace of your families and your
that's
nation,
weird.
know that all of Israel and the entire world stands ready to welcome you home with open arms and endless love. And let's not forget the people who have lost children who are not coming home. Members of a very terrible club that I'm a member of myself. We remember the heroes and the innocent souls who are no longer with us. Those who were taken from us on that terrible, tragic day, October 7th. And those who have given their lives since then in defense of freedom and their nation, in defense of this country, Israel, in defense of peace. Their memory is a blessing. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. From their courage, we draw our strength. And from their love, we find our purpose. This peace is their
Why are these
legacy.
dudes wearing
It is
masks?
a promise that their lives will not be remembered only in sorrow, but in the hope of a future without fear. So in closing, I say, may God bless the souls of the fallen. May God bless the hostages and their families as they return home. May God bless the state of Israel. May God bless the United States of
DJT is what president of the board for Gaza redevelopment. Yeah, it would be so him to slide into being president of Israel too. Maybe that's what he does in 2028. Maybe he goes and becomes the president of Israel.
America, and may God bless Donald J. Trump.
Because like Israel controls America and all that stuff, right?
The greatest president the world has ever seen. Thank you.
This is Ollie Witkoff. Oh man, this sucks. I want to hear what Jared said. Oh my God, no, not again. Pass the mic to MCA.
10 months of working with Steve very closely, even more so in the last month. And I have to tell you, it's been an honor to me to work with such a special man who's approached this impossible task with a full heart and with a full commitment. And when things got tough and we ran into brick walls, every time that happened, we just said, let's make a new plan, let's try again. And that's what being partners with Steve was like.
Boo!
And I also have to say, working with President Trump on this, his commitment to seeing peace, to seeing the hostages return home, to seeing Israel secure and safe, and to seeing the entire Middle East stable and thriving is unmatched.
I know it's on double speed. He doesn't sound like a real person regardless. Yeah, he sounds like
Thank you,
like a grown-up, like 11-year-old man.
Horrible conflict to an end. October 7th for me
was he AI generated?
My wife and I were at a friend's wedding in Colorado, and I remember hearing the news, and I just went to the hotel room, and I was looking at videos and trying to speak to whoever I could to get information, and I just stayed there all night, and I cried. Seeing some of these acts that were committed on that day made me think about how fortunate we are to have a society with rules and laws and people with morals, and seeing these horrific, barbaric acts shocked me to my core in a way that I'll never be the same.
Those horrific barbaric acts, not these horrific barbaric acts. I got you. Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, anyways, yeah, I think I got what I wanted out of that. But yeah, is there audio on this? Oh yeah, there is. Hold on, I got it.
To rebuild Gaza, and that will be billions. What everybody needs to understand and realize is that this is being driven by powerful people who stand to make a lot of money. Not millions, billions. The world needs to wake up. This is not about the world not recognizing that it's a genocide. We recognize it's a genocide. So what is happening in Gaza is a stain on the history of mankind. This is a stain on human history, a stain that will never be washed away. The fabric of humanity is already stained, and we have a choice to stop it and do what's right, or to stand by and let that stand.
Yeah, I do agree. What we've witnessed here, just the destruction of Gaza, the decimation of the people in Palestine, is unbelievable. But definitely, billions and billions of dollars will be made in the rebuilding of Gaza. That's the capitalist imperialist cycle, right? We got to create jobs, so let's get some jobs made, and you know what? We'll make a bomb factory. Yeah, let's make a bomb factory, and we can get these people to have a job, right? And then, once the bombs are made, well, shit, we got to drop them somewhere. Let's go drop them on these people that, they're just not listening. They're not complying. So we have to drop the bombs on the people. The bombs get used. We've got to make more bombs to profit from that. Their housing and living situation gets destroyed. We can profit from that also because we got to rebuild the place now. So hey, we can profit from that. People are injured. Maybe we can find a way to exploit that through their labor, through doctors' labors, and the medical industry. We can profit from that too. And then once it's all rebuilt, hey, maybe they'll listen this time. If they don't listen this time, we'll just do it again. The cycle continues, right? This is the cycle that we've done many times over as the United States to other countries. You know, it's gonna suck, but I am happy to see the people of Gaza celebrating. They no longer have to worry about being bombed, at least not at the moment. Yeah. Let's see, what was this? Ralph Nader. Chris had just spoke with Ralph Nader. Reminds readers that average citizens as consumers, workers, veterans, parents, and more wield power often invisible to them. Tell me about it. I wasn't a fan of Ralph Nader a long time ago. I don't know if I am or not.
So I write this book because I would be speaking to large audiences around the country in past years. And at the end, people would come up to me rather hesitantly, and they would say, Ralph, I know I'm a nobody, but I have to ask you this question. And when I hear that, I flare. I said, what do you mean you're a nobody? How can you ever say you're a nobody? You live as a citizen in this country. How can you say you're a nobody? A worker? Yes. Are you a consumer shopper? Yes. Are you a taxpayer? Yes. Voter? Well, sometimes. Are you a parent? Yes. Are you a veteran? Sometimes. Well, how can you say you're a nobody? You know things about those roles. You've experienced them. You've been frustrated. If you allow yourself to be a nobody, you're going to be treated like a nobody. So I write this book because I would be speaking to large...
I had not listened to that quote. That's a very good point. We all have the power for change. I firmly believe that this ceasefire wouldn't have happened without people constantly talking about it. Constantly putting it into the news, especially when the news would not talk about it, when the news would completely ignore what's going in Gaza, when there was massive graves uncovered, when there was just a slaughter of like the flower massacre, GHF massacres, all of these things that were happening in Gaza that the U.S. media, Western media did not want to cover, but because we kept talking about it, they had to cover it. So, a lot of people think that they're just one person, they can't do anything. There's plenty you can do. You don't let others limit what you have the capability of doing. That's the way I put it, right? Here's the drone image of the massive destruction of in southern Gaza City. That's insane, man. But yeah, Jared, tell me about this.
And my heart has not been complete. And it's been a tremendous burden that I felt to see these hostages come home, to see their families get the closure they deserve and to end this nightmare.
Yeah, so these are the barbarians, right? What Jared said earlier. They're the ones that destroy everything. I guess they destroyed their own home. So no, that was the IDF bombing the shit out of Gaza City. The scale of destruction here is just incredible. And not only did they destroy the buildings, they destroyed the roads. With bulldozers, they go and they like drop a tail down in the middle of the concrete and it rips up the road. And then they just bulldoze the concrete out of the way. So that it's all dirt roads. And that's purposely done so that it makes it more difficult for people to get in and out, especially if they're injured. to get to and from hospitals. It's a way of ensuring that people suffer, basically.
What everybody needs to...
Yeah. What else we got going on the other part of the world that we've maybe had an effect on? Tensions rise as the Taliban's 201 Khalid bin Walid Corps say it has launched attacks on Pakistani military outposts near the common border after Kabul accused Islamabad of carrying out airstrikes on the capital. That's, yeah. Why would Pakistan fire upon Afghanistan? I wonder how much of this has to do with Trump demanding that the that airport airbase be handed back to the United States, and Taliban telling us to fuck off, basically. You know, some things they never change, right? What else we got? Residents warn of strain on water supply as AI data hubs bloom out west.
Nestled in the arid nothingness of northern Nevada, a burgeoning boomtown of tech in one of the world's driest deserts.
We are Shangri-La for data centers.
Shangri-La for
data centers.
Is this the new Silicon Valley? What is this?
It is. So this is Tahoe Industrial Center.
Yeah. Commercial real estate developer Chris Thompson is taking us for a ride inside the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, one of the biggest business complexes in the country, a larger footprint than the city of Detroit.
There was nothing out here but coyotes, creosote, and dirt trails 25 years ago. And here we are. You're going to see some heavy equipment.
Decades ago, the area was zoned for industrial use only. No housing, streamlining permitting, now for Fortune 500 companies. It's fast becoming one of the world's most popular places for AI data centers, hubs of sprawling special-built server farms capable of hosting the intense data demands of artificial intelligence.
And all of this will be data centers.
It will all be all data centers, yes, sir.
Data centers, the new frontier of tech, now popping up across the country, requiring a minimal workforce to operate, but they come with some big trade-offs, like the huge amounts of power to run them and water to keep them cool. In 2023, they consumed an estimated 200 billion gallons of water, if you include the water needed as part of electricity generation, according to the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. What the data centers are using directly, as much water as about 500,000 people, and it's only expected to rise as the AI.
That's cool. We don't need water, man.
And a Bloomberg investigation found that 2/3 of all new U.S. data centers are being built in water-scarce regions, with projects getting pushback in other states, like Arizona.
Concerns about the water and power guzzling data centers.
And Texas.
I'm a fighter. I don't quit.
Where severe drought is a major concern. And Nevada already has 61 centers.
It's really scary for the folks who live here. It's scary for myself.
We met Sierra Club Regional Director Olivia Tanager outside of a new data center under construction in Reno.
When you look at this site, you know that a data center is coming. Are you worried?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm worried and I'm fearful.
Unlike what's being built here in the desert, centers like this one are going up next to neighborhoods within city limits. Tanager says there aren't enough rainy days like this one to support the developments without more guardrails.
Is the city prepared for that kind of growth?
Absolutely not. Residents' utility bills are already going up. We have water issues out the wazoo. And
these AI data centers, like all these data centers, are a huge reason as to why electricity bills are going up.
The centers are extremely energy and water intensive, and the city is not prepared.
The sudden spread of these new tech temples has other residents worried too, like bar owner Anton Casano.
What's your biggest fear with the water usage there?
That it's not the best use of that water. Because when you're thinking about it, it's a finite resource. There's the people that need it to drink, and also our water rates are going to go up.
we hit the road to look for possible fixes that might ease that burden.
All right, so we're making our way to Sparks. It's a smaller city just outside of Reno. No data centers here yet, but they're likely on the way, with, of course, water being the primary concern. But some city officials
Clean water
think they
away.
have the solution.
Sparks City Council member Diane Vanderwell admits her city's possible idea, well, kind of stinks.
They're coming so fast and quick that I'd rather be proactive.
Vanderwell took us to the Sparks wastewater treatment plant, where the city has a program called Effluent to transform a small portion of this wastewater into a renewable resource.
We use it on our parks and golf courses and things like that.
Could this be a solution for these data centers that use so much water? That's the big concern, right?
Right, and that they are water heavy. And the thing is yes, this is one of the solutions that we are looking at.
The good news, an effluent pipeline from this plant runs right into the heart of that desert business complex.
We put in a 20-mile pipeline. That means their cooling is going to run probably 95% on reclaimed water.
But from what I understand, you're not fully using it yet.
Don't need it yet.
You don't need it yet.
Yeah. But we will in the future, I believe, with the data centers coming in here. Absolutely.
And that's the point everyone agrees on. Data centers are coming. And stakeholders like Chris argue it's a good thing. Economic diversification for a region too reliant on tourism and casinos, while others worry places like Reno will become unrecognizable and the state's water supply unsustainable.
And Steve Patterson is joining us now. Steve, I understand there's a big meeting coming up that's going to decide the future of these data centers within city limits.
Yeah, Yasmin, really big day tomorrow. The Regional Planning Governing Board there is set to vote on whether a major development just north of Reno, as you saw there, called Stonegate, can amend their original development plans for a huge amount of residential housing, with a big part of it becoming, you guessed it, industrial. It's essentially a precedent center because it could pave the way for the direction this whole region could take when it comes to building these data centers for years and years to come.
All right, Steve Patterson for us. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
This place sucks.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, this is the circumcised thing. All right, never mind. OMG, LMAO. There's now a Portland Frog Brigade outside the ICE facility. The frogs are taking over. Frog supremacy. Yeah, it's very funny. I like that people are going out there and making Al Ribbit Hopper's Brigade. Rivet, not exactly the IQB I imagined we would have in the United States, but sure, you know, at least it's something. I'm glad to see something happening. Would I like to see people, you know, expressing their right to bear arms? That would be great. I think that would be a lot more threatening. But hey, you know, do what you got to do. Stay safe out there. But yeah, speaking of ICE, here is a channel I haven't watched in a while. This is Cappy Army. This is Chris Cappy, the right winger that pretends to be a centrist. He did a bit on now U.S. troops are deploying to U.S. cities. So I wanted to see what he has to say here.
Right now, thousands of American troops are deploying to American cities around the country. One of these soldiers is named Adam Reyes. Let's say he's 19 years old, from a quiet suburb in Illinois. Adam enlisted in the National Guard a year ago as a way to serve his country one weekend a month and to help pay for classes at Northern Illinois University. On October 5th, Adam got a text message from his squad leader that read, "Report to the armory. We're going to Chicago to protect federal facilities and agents downtown."
That's crazy. If he's going to Chicago, how is he going to continue going to school? I guess
it felt surreal to Adam because growing up, Chicago was the city where he and his family went every year to watch the Thanksgiving Day parade. It was where he and his buddies went on the weekends for concerts and parties. Now he was going there as a soldier to possibly stop riots and be issued live ammunition. That night, Adam sat at his desk and started writing emails to his professors, explaining that he might miss the rest of the semester. Across the whole country, thousands of part-time citizen soldiers were doing the exact same thing, calling off from work, rearranging childcare to fulfill their commitment.
Just doing what they gotta do,
the Chicago
guys.
area has begun in controversy over its constitutionality.
Hundreds of troops
Plot
from
twist,
Texas
Kathy,
and
is that
Illinois National Guard are now positioned
Probably.
to deploy across the Chicago area.
On October 5th, the White House federalized and deployed 300 National Guard troops from Illinois and 400 from Texas to the city of Chicago. So far in 2025, the White House has deployed 4,000 National Guard soldiers and 700 Marines to Los Angeles, 2,000 to Washington, D.C., over 100 to Tennessee, and there are now
all
plans to
this for them to just stand around and do jack shit.
Activate the National Guard in 19 more states. In places like Portland and Chicago,
For them to stand
governors are
around and
suing
stare
to
at people
block
in
the
frog
deployments
costumes.
and arguing they're unconstitutional. In response, the federal government is threatening to go around them by invoking the Insurrection
they are unconstitutional, actually.
Act. Meanwhile, Adam's mom...
Low key, we got too many Texas cars in Illinois already. We don't need
texted
more.
him links to stories from the news. Some articles called the National Guard's deployment heroic, others called them pawns in an authoritarian power grab.
Yeah,
Adam
that's
had
more
never thought
accurate,
much
actually.
about politics his whole life. He didn't like watching the talking
Oh,
heads
I'm not
on
a
the news
politics
channels,
guy.
and he
I
wasn't the
don't
type
know,
of
man.
guy to argue with you about immigration or crime. But now, he and his unit were at the
He
center
was just a
of
good
one of the
little
most
boy. Good boy. Yeah, don't talk about anything. Yeah, we were taught to know our place and not speak of politics at the table. That way, you stay ignorant and people just keep on doing things while they fucking like whiz by your head.
Controversial and politically sensitive military missions in recent history. This channel isn't political. It's not my place
Everything
to tell
is
you what to
political,
think.
man.
My purpose...
He's like, this channel is not political, but then he's on Twitter like fucking like yippee yapping fucking like right wing bullshit, dude.
Here with this channel is to cover issues of national security and discuss it here in the comment section with you. I'm a former Army National
buts
Guard
about it,
soldier
just
who
do the
deployed to
right-winger.
both Iraq and domestically to New York City to respond to looting alongside police during a hurricane. I have some personal experience with the type of challenging missions that these troops are tasked with. It's my goal to explain the facts of the situation, to put it into historical context,
from a
and
right-wing
hopefully be a
perspective.
resource for troops and civilians to better understand what's happening in America, in something that's more detailed and complete than a 3-minute spot on a news network can be. Because behind these domestic deployments is something much bigger, a continental military operation stretching from Los...
Yeah, for what, dude? To Venezuela we go. We're just blowing up little boats of people that are doing like human trafficking.
Los Angeles to Venezuela, one that is aiming to redefine what national security means at home and test just how far federal powers can reach inside the United States. But before we dive deeper into that, I want to thank this episode's sponsor, Supremacy World War III, for sponsoring the 3D animation and map
sounds kind of on a little nail on the head there. Chicago is a testing ground for Venezuela
today are part of a much larger federal immigration operation that's been unfolding across the nation since early 2025. That's when the US government began a series of mass deportation raids targeting homes and workplaces across the country. So far, more than 220,000 people have been confirmed arrested, roughly 60,000 are now held in detention centers, and estimates are as high as 200,000 already deported from inside the United States.
Because we don't fucking know where they're deporting people to, man.
Whatever the exact numbers are, though, one thing is for certain. It's the largest interior enforcement effort in modern American history, with the stated goal of deporting 1 million people a year, or roughly 3,000 arrests a day.
Yeah, this is not fascism
The
or
initiative is known as
authoritarianism, guys.
Operation
Don't
at
worry
Large.
about it, okay?
To give you a sense of its scale, according to federal reports, it combines 3,000 ICE agents, 2,000 personnel from the FBI and DEA, and eventually 21,000 National Guard soldiers to be deployed throughout the country. The government is...
Are you telling me there's only 26,000 of these people? I might just be overestimating ourselves here, but there might be a lot more of us than there are of them.
Also expanding military bases in Florida to use as deportation hubs, reopening old detention facilities, and coordinating with El Salvador's mega prisons to handle deportees. $170 billion in funding for these enforcement and border security operations has been set aside, making it one of the top priorities in national security. One of the main justifications provided for these troop deployments has been for them to support and protect these deportation operations. But this isn't the first time the United States has carried out a mass deportation campaign, and the last time that it happened, it played out differently, but also sparked a nationwide debate over just how far federal enforcement should reach. In World War II, the US and Mexican governments actually worked together with one another to launch the Bracero program, which authorized over 5 million Mexican workers to come north into America to fill wartime labor shortages as the US men fought overseas in the war. The program required fair wages and sanitary housing conditions for the Mexican workers. But many US ranchers chose to ignore that rule and instead hired illegal labor from Mexico because it was much cheaper and didn't have those
tale as old as time.
requirements. By the early 1950s, Washington moved to enforce compliance.
Yeah, they were also gassing, literally pouring gasoline on people that crossed the border. That's where Hitler got the idea, like before this. To gas people.
With the Bracero program, President Eisenhower,
and yes, people died.
Appointed a retired World War II Army General, Joseph Swing, to lead a massive federal deportation campaign. In 1954, the government launched what was called Operation Wetback. Yes, that was really its official name in the newspapers and everything. Border Patrol and Immigration and Naturalization Service swept through neighborhoods in 12-man squads and jeeps, stopping anyone who looked Mexican and demanded identification. If they didn't have
anyone
any,
who looked
detainees
Mexican
were sent to
they deported not only people that were here that weren't citizens, they deported citizens of the United States as well.
The camps and then deported by bus, train, and ship. Officially, about 30,000 people were deported in just a few months, but over 1 million were ultimately apprehended. The Eisenhower administration called the operation Respect for Law, while civil rights groups called the campaign unconstitutional.
So the capitalist ranchers swindled the government and inspired H-men in Germany. Yes, exactly. Somehow capitalism is always involved in this stuff.
Once again, seeing large-scale federal immigration enforcement, but this time something major has changed. It's backed by military deployments from the National Guard and some active duty components. These deployments started in June 2025 when ICE raids targeted illegal immigrants at a garment factory and a hardware store downtown. It quickly escalated when protesters clashed with...
You notice Home Depot doesn't really put up much of a fight for when they were going out to those parking lots, right?
Agents at the detention facility. Federal agents fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowds, while protesters threw rocks and...
That's crazy, because in each one of those videos he just showed, protesters were moving backwards and the cops were moving forward, firing at them. So, But the context, anyway.
Bricks at the police vehicles while they were moving.
Oh, not the police vehicles. Property damage, man. My property got damaged. Everybody needs to be deported and or die.
Cars were abandoned in the middle of the highway. Looting broke out.
The Waymos.
Fires were all over the city. That's when 4,000 California Army National Guard soldiers were federalized by the government, and 700 Marines were sent to Los Angeles on a mission to quell the riots. And since then, the protests have regularly happened in ICE.
Similar to when people in Afghanistan and Iraq found out that they were just there to protect poppy fields and oil fields. Riots, yeah, exactly. They're just being sent to protect property, such as a building that is more important than you. An ICE detention center that's more important than you. Waymos. Police trucks that are way more important than your life, apparently.
Facilities around the country. But over the following months, the violence has slowly escalated. In July, a man opened fire on ICE agents during a raid at a marijuana facility. 2 months later, another man shot into an ICE transportation vehicle, killing a detainee. After the assassination of political commentator Charlie Kirk, U.S. government officials began stating these domestic deployments went beyond immigration and crime.
You gotta mix in the Kirk hole every now and then. Make sure people know you're serious.
And they were now necessary to fight domestic terrorism across the United States. Adam felt shocked by the amount of violence happening in his country. He hadn't experienced anything like this before in his lifetime. His dad
Can you
said,
believe these rioting leftist anti-ICE protesters killed Charlie Kirk. Can you believe that? Oh.
Reminded him of back in the 1960s when there were a string of assassinations, bombings, riots, and unrest in the country. But for Adam's generation, unrest wasn't supposed to look like this. Yet behind the scenes, government memos and intelligence reports have been quietly reframing the threat, turning internal disorder into a matter of national security. In January, Latin American drug cartels were designated foreign terrorist organizations.
Where'd they get all the guns
on September 22nd, the Trump administration officially designated Antifa as a terrorist organization.
Ignore that.
The first time a domestic group had been targeted in this way. Antifa is a movement of leftist activists in the United States seen at many of these protests. The move to designate them as a terrorist organization was seen largely as symbolic, but it opened the door for the Pentagon to justify using their intelligence, surveillance, and even military assets within the interior of the country. This same argument has been reinforced across multiple federal reports, and the Homeland Security 2025 Threat Assessment devotes major sections to domestic extremism and terrorism. The use of military force in America has always been a sensitive subject throughout history. Since the founding of the country, Americans have been suspicious of domestic troop deployments. The framers of the Constitution had lived through British troops patrolling the streets, enforcing taxes, and even living in their private homes. British troops killed 5 colonists in the Boston Massacre, which was seen as a warning of what could happen when a military is turned inward. So the founders built safeguards into the new republic to try to prevent that. The Third Amendment banned troops from living in civilian homes, and Article 2 placed command of the military under an elected civilian president. But that principle was tested almost immediately. In 1794, farmers in western Pennsylvania revolted against a new federal whiskey tax. President George Washington called up state militias to suppress
these
the
are all
uprising.
things, like, if this dude was based, he would be, like, for it, right? The Third Amendment being like, why am I relevant again?
The rebellion did.
I'm guessing they'll make a move next week, then shut down. The shutdown will be revealed as a shutout of Dems. That's a pretty good guess.
It collapsed, but it exposed the problem. There was no method through which the president could legitimately call up soldiers on U.S. soil to protect the republic. To fix that oversight, Congress passed the Insurrection Act of 1807.
We must become more
giving presidents the
authoritarian.
power to deploy federal forces domestically, but only when a state requests help or when local authorities can no longer maintain order. Now, 2 centuries later, the Trump administration is signaling they may use the Insurrection Act if cities do not comply with immigration raids and National Guard deployments. And the nation's third largest...
So it's just an escalation tactic. It's all this is being used for, is just to escalate things so that they can validate their use of force.
The city, Chicago, is at the center of all of this. In September, federal ICE agents in full tactical gear and camouflage launched Operation Midway Blitz. The Pentagon reported they authorized
folks enjoying the treading lately,
to stage from an active U.S. military naval base at Naval Station Great Lakes, about 40 miles north of downtown Chicago. It's the largest military base in Illinois with infrastructure for vehicles, helicopters, staging, and intelligence collection. And it was the first time there was this level of cooperation between the military and civilian law enforcement. 250 federal agents using 140 vehicles launched immigration raids from the naval base. On the night of September 30th, agents rappelled from a Black Hawk helicopter on the roof of a 5-story apartment building in the South Shore neighborhood of Chicago, where officers say Tren de Aragua cartel members were using it as a...
This shit's all for show. All of this was for show.
Safe house. Armored Bearcat vehicles, unmarked SUVs surrounded the block and established a perimeter. By dawn, officials claimed the raid had resulted in over 40 arrests and seizure of illegal narcotics and firearms. Local
illegal narcotics in a neighborhood? No way. Not in any neighborhood I've ever lived in.
Residents described the scene as a war zone. Shortly after this, a judge in Illinois...
Hold on.
Local residents described the scene as a war zone.
Yeah, because the cops were fucking arresting everybody and busted in the doors. You fucking dumbass.
Shortly after this, a judge in Illinois ruled that the National Guard deployment was illegal, which temporarily blocked deployments while it went to the higher courts. Ultimately, it's up to the courts to decide if the troop deployments are legal, and the
again, that is part of the war on the on the judiciary. Trump, obviously, they own the executive branch. They have the majority in Congress, so they have the legislative branch. They're doing a war on the judiciary, and that this is all part of it. They're pushing everything to the limit so that they can continue to blame judges and then single out judges that don't comply with what they're doing.
Precedent rests on one single law from the 1800s.
It's up to the courts,
because after the Civil War in 1865,
they
U.S.
still
troops
deployed them until
occupied
early,
the
yeah.
southern states to enforce Reconstruction and protect newly freed black Americans from violence. For more than a decade, the Army occupied the South, but the presence of troops on the streets fueled resentment in the South, so President Hayes withdrew troops, and a year later, Congress passed the Posse Comitatus Act, which made it illegal to use the U.S. military to enforce domestic law unless Congress specifically authorizes it. But today, the president is using a different legal authority.
What? Congress hasn't authorized the war in like decades, and yet we still, deploy the military to wherever we want in the world.
To avoid that issue, the government is deploying the National Guard without congressional or local state leadership approval by using Title 10 U.S. Code 124006. It allows the president to activate the Guard if the U.S. is, quote, invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation, or there is a rebellion or a danger of a rebellion. In cities like Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago, it's drawn lawsuits that have temporarily blocked the deployment of National Guard troops, putting them in limbo while the courts determine if there is legal danger of a rebellion. In addition to this, the federal government is now trying to deploy...
That's part of the reason that that government officials, local government officials, are telling people not to escalate things is because they don't want it to look like a riot. They don't want it to look like an uprising or a rebellion, which would further incite the Trump administration to deploy military and National Guard and whatnot. They're still doing it. The whole point is that they want to do that to begin with. And it doesn't appear to be stopping them. At least, maybe you're slowing them down by doing these lawsuits. But stopping them completely doesn't seem to be happening. It seems like the Trump administration is just going to do whatever they want. They're stress testing, they're stress testing, yes. But they're stress testing just to continue with whatever they want to do. Historically, this reminds me of the topic that we were just talking about. Israel and Palestine. You have the West Bank and you have Gaza, right? Two situations that were handled differently. In the West Bank, you have the Palestinian Authority and Fatah, who govern the West Bank, and over time, the West Bank has just been gradually taken away. It's been invaded by settlers and been gradually more and more lands being taken away. People's houses get raided and they get kicked out of their homes. And then, you have somebody occupying your house, or you have soldiers come, use your house for as a base. And that's part of the occupation of the West Bank. That's what they've been doing. You have the Palestinian Authority and you have their militant group, the Fatah, who rather than fight back, capitulate. They capitulate to Israel and they give up ground. Every time they give up ground, they don't get it back. I say give up ground, theoretically, where you're giving away your rights, you're giving away, and you're complying with what Israel is telling you to do because you believe it's the only way for you to survive. How long do you continue to capitulate until it's no longer about survival, it's about extinction? In Gaza, what happened was, you had Hamas, who was seen as an extreme group to begin with, right? And they came into power of the government there. And what they did was they fought back. They fought back and they kicked out the settlements that were going on in Gaza. Israel had to remove all of their settlers from Gaza. And that was a couple decades ago, right? And that was because of the fighting back. There's obviously a lot more history going on there, but you either fight back or you capitulate. And you know, which one leads to a future? You know, we can see what's happened in the last few years where Israel's just gone completely banana shit on Gaza and, you know, done a whole genocide, killing potentially hundreds of thousands of people. I don't believe any of us will ever be free until we fight back, until, you know, this capitulation of, you know, complying with the rules and the guidelines that the authoritarian governments are going to give you, until you're like, fuck that, and you just fight back. Like, it's not going to go away. They're going to continue. What happens when, like, what happens next year? I was gonna say, what happens, you know, in the next 4 years? What happens next year, dude? They're already doing all of this stuff. What's it gonna look like in 4 years? You think, like, in 4 years, Trump is just gonna, you know, be like, oh well, yeah, I got voted out of office. All right, guys, well, I'll see y'all later. Or do you think that, you know, Trump's gonna have troops in the streets while, you know, elections are going on? You know, which do you think that he's going to do martial law once he sees that, like, the numbers aren't coming in the way they need to be coming in? Like, what direction do you think that's going to go in, man? I don't see this going into our favor at all. Capitulation, you know, is going to lead us to be extinct, basically.
Deploy out-of-state Texas National Guard units to Chicago because the Texas governor agrees and supports the move. The laws written in the aftermath of the Civil War were meant to help settle the debate over domestic use of military force, but history shows us those limits have been tested again and again. U.S. Army soldiers were deployed to crush the Great Railroad Strike of 1877, where they fired on rioters in several states, killing more than 100 civilians.
They fired on
Later,
workers.
in 1957, President Eisenhower, the one who ran that last major deportation operation, invoked the Insurrection Act.
We haven't learned a thing since Reconstruction, exactly, and I think it's purposeful.
To enforce desegregation laws, integrating black and white schools.
Oh, they did such a good job. Yeah, look at racism eliminated in the United States. It's gone. It's over, man.
In 1962, Kennedy sent the National Guard to quell riots when racist mobs defied federal authority to allow the first black student to attend the University of Mississippi. 2 were killed and hundreds injured before order was restored. In 1970, Ohio Army National Guard soldiers opened fire and killed 4 unarmed students during Vietnam War protests. But the last time the Insurrection Act was invoked was in 1992 by President Bush Sr. to help end the Los Angeles riots. Nearly 30 years later, in 2020, we saw 40,000 National Guard activated on the streets in response to riots after George Floyd's murder. Since 1970, though, no civilians have been killed by U.S. troops on U.S. soil. As for the soldiers themselves carrying out these missions, like Private First Class Reyes, they're bound by multiple laws and regulations that
amphibians against fascism. That's pretty fun. I like that. Amphiba. I got a little frog on the flag. Nice.
Date back to 1939, forbidding
back
them from
to the
engaging
United
in
States
partisan
killing its own people on U.S. soil.
Politics or criticizing Congress or the president in public. The U.S. military's culture is built on this idea of remaining apolitical, that service members follow lawful orders from civilian leaders regardless of who holds office. It's a principle meant to preserve public trust and keep the armed forces separate from partisan power. In theory, that apolitical line is clear, but in practice it can get messy. The National Guard is unique in that it answers to 2 different governments at once, the federal government and the state governments. In America, each of the state governors control the National Guard. The way it works is if a National Guard unit is called up by its state governor, it can operate what's called hybrid status. This is known as Title 32. Under this status of Title 32, guardsmen are legally not restricted by the Posse Comitatus Act, which means they're allowed to support police with crowd control, arrest individuals, search vehicles, and enforce curfews. But in reality, the way it works in practice, and I've seen it firsthand before, individual guard commanders almost always explicitly tell lower enlisted soldiers in the past that they're not authorized to enforce the law anyway. They do this in order to avoid the legal issue of the Posse Comitatus Act altogether, even though they are legally allowed.
Yeah, just what I need, another 19-year-old that has no idea of how the law works trying to interpret the law and enforce it.
However, when the National Guard is federalized directly by the president, it operates under their control or federal authority, called Title 10. That single distinction means troops follow the same law as the active duty army, which means they cannot make arrests or enforce civilian law. Except that's not the full story, because there's an exception to that rule. Take a look at DoD Directive Number 3025.18. This is being interpreted today to justify soldiers who are on Title 10 federalized orders to still perform law enforcement duties. Section 4K subsection 2 states federal military forces can act when local, state, or federal authorities are unable or unwilling to provide adequate protection for federal property or federal governmental functions. This is being interpreted by the federal government to mean anywhere that federal agents go, military soldiers can protect them. So the government is arguing that means federal ICE agents, when they go on raids, soldiers can go and protect them on that. While lawyers argued about constitutional authority and whether or not the Illinois deployment would be reauthorized, Adam Reyes slept for the night on the floor of a gym in a Chicago armory. He texted his girlfriend and tried to get some reading done for school. A platoon of the Texas
at the bar.
Army National Guard were staying in the same armory with them. And one of the guys from the Texas unit came over and joked, "So what happens if your governor orders you to stop us from being here? We gonna have to square off in the parking lot?" The two laughed together. Across the country, several governors are threatening to withdraw from the National Governors Association, which was originally created to help coordinate between the state governments and the federal government. More and more state governments are now acting like opposing camps. National Guard troops from Republican and Democrat states are being given conflicting orders. For soldiers on the ground,
there's this fucking misconflation of these are Democrat states and these are Republican states and these are Democrat cities and these are Republican cities. Like, no, you fucking idiots. Like, just because you vote one way doesn't mean you're going to continue to vote that way, or you're going to vote the other way, or you're going to do that for life. Like, this fucking affiliation of party and trying to divide everybody by that is stupid. Because if you look at all of these guys, some of these guys probably voted Democrat. Some of them didn't vote at all. You're telling me that they're all... You want me to view them as all Republican? No. That's not the way it works. But yeah, on the conflicting orders thing, like, a lot of these guys are just kids, man. They're just like 19-year-olds that, you know, are out of high school. They don't have shit going on back in their hometown of rural, wherever the fuck. And they're like, "Oh yes, sir, right away, sir." You know, like, because that's what they're told to believe. That's what they're told to believe. They probably never been to a big city. So they want these people because they know that they're going to follow orders. But once you get out there and you see that, you know, what you're being told isn't actually what's happening, your opinion changes. It's the same thing with people that have been deployed overseas. You know, I've talked to a lot of people that have been, you know, that went to Afghanistan, and they come back and they're like, yeah, it sucks. It's fucking, like, you're being lied to the entire time. They just want you for your body. Like, nobody wants you for your mind because they don't expect anything to be in your fucking head. They expect their words to be in your head, and that's it. They just know that you're a disposable person from Nowheresville, and that you know, if you die, nobody's really going to care, because, you know, odds are you probably weren't rich. So Good luck. Good luck out there. But yeah, enjoy protecting ICE being ICE's bitch. And you know, if you're overseas, protecting the poppy fields and the oil reserves, because you know that's all they need you for.
It raises a question. What happens if one state's governor orders their National Guard troops to do something in opposition to another state's National Guard? Adam is, of course, a representation of the thousands of National Guard soldiers across the country. He's a representation of the responsibility that these men and women have. Many American soldiers over the past 250 years have stood in the same difficult position. They've had to make challenging split-second decisions and do their best to maintain their professionalism. The National Guard soldiers stand in the middle of court battles, presidential orders, civilians, and federal agents, but at the end of the day,
learning to protecting J6ers.
All they really want is what's best for their communities that they grew up in and call home. I often cover wars happening halfway around the world. We've done rundowns on the Israeli-Hamas war, Ukraine, Russia, Venezuela. It would have felt wrong for me to ignore one of the biggest issues in national security right now, and I do believe that YouTube is a place where we can all come together and have discussions, because I think this is part of some of the biggest issues facing America right now, and it's important for this community to be a part of that discussion. If you want to support what we do here on this channel, just hit the like button. That's all you gotta do, hit the like button. If you want to learn more, you can check out these recent videos that we've done on national.
I'm sorry, I have all that stuff blocked. Anyways, a more important topic. What do we got here? Hot off the press. What is this? Oh, wait, hold on. I don't have any audio.
And when you last saw me a decade ago, my name's Nathaniel. I live in a small rural town in Texas.
A small rural town.
And
on topic, actually.
When you last saw me a decade ago, I was in an intimate relationship with my car chase.
Morning, baby. Our handsome man.
Car's name is Chase. You met Chase in a resale lot about 5 years ago. Oh no! What is happening here?
Love you, baby. It was love at first sight. His body and then his interior and everything just together just seemed to fit. And I just felt an instant connection. I just absolutely love Chase. If something were ever to happen to Chase, my heart would just stop. I just have to gather myself here. I'm sorry for all that.
This dude loves his car.
Unfortunately, Chase is no longer a part of my life.
Not the Monte Carlo. 4 years ago, Chase was involved in a serious accident during a routine checkup. Hold on. The building collapse on him?
I still think about it a lot, and it breaks my heart he's not here. I felt like he deserved better. So this is where I keep a lot of Chase's mementos. The bedroom is just a special place, and I felt like that was the perfect place for him, and nice to have him close to me. The blanket's special to me because it's got a lot of his good pictures on it. Just cute stuff like him getting a bath and us together.
Was this after he was... What is this? What? That's not normal, man.
Just you look back.
It's cammed. I mean, it's a Monte Carlo. It might be cammed. I used to be into cars, not like that. But
don't realize the things. My name's Nathaniel.
I had a show car. I used to do the import thing. On the Naira circuit, homie. Yeah, that guy was really into cars. Like when he got in his car, he got in his car. I knew this was where this was gonna go. I just didn't expect the ride, I guess. Oh man. Anyway, capitalism, right? Am I right, chat? Capitalism. Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers salary cap saga explained. It is sports ball season, so we're going to talk a little bit about sports ball for a minute and capitalism and how it's all related.
Kawhi Leonard getting paid more than the NBA salary cap and breaking the league rules is not just a labor issue.
Yeah, you can't get paid more than the salary cap because, you know, that's like illegal. That's why it's called a salary cap. Anyways, she'll
The
explain.
behavior by the team's owners and investors are a perfect example of how oligarchic rule is starting to dominate every aspect of American society. Let's get into it. The salary cap that NBA has places a limit on how much each team is allowed to spend on players' salaries each season. This creates parity in the NBA across teams so that one team with a lot of money doesn't accumulate all of the good players that wouldn't be fun to watch or play in. However, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want all of the best players to be on one team because then that would just be an all-star team, right? Although that has like happened, not that all the players were all on one team, but that like three of the top players go play at one place. It happened with the Celtics. It happened with the Miami Heat. It happened with like the Lakers, but and then Cleveland also did it. But yeah, you don't want that to happen because then, you know, they just win championships repeatedly. It's
Now,
really
the
annoying.
Los Angeles Clippers are in a controversy because there's a ton of documentation showing Kawhi Leonard was
Corruption,
getting payments
basically.
from the team's investors beyond his salary cap. Let's get to know our characters. There's the star player Kawhi Leonard, his uncle Dennis Robertson, who does a lot of negotiating for him. He's like his advisor. There's Stephen Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers and former CEO of Microsoft. Then Joe Sandberg. He is the founder of Aspiration Bank. This was supposed to be like an anti-Wells Fargo. They invest in good things that are good for people and the planet instead of the usual corporations. So let's go through this timeline. Stephen Ballmer spent $2 billion on a new stadium for the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard is the star player of the team. If he were to leave, the team would lose a lot of airtime and jersey sales, ticket sales, wins. It would be bad for the franchise and potentially mean the damage of him leaving could result in this $2 billion investment being a loss. Now, Kawhi and Uncle Dennis have a reputation of asking more than teams are allowed to give, and the Clippers have a reputation of offering third-party compensation to players they're recruiting. In August 2021, Kawhi Leonard is offered the maximum to stay with the Clippers of $176.3 million. In September, Stephen Ballmer invests $50 million in aspiration of his own money. 2 weeks later, the Clippers announced a partnership with Aspiration Bank of $300 million, including a sponsorship of the team's arena and a New Jersey patch. According to Pablo Torre, who has been reporting on this story for months, that spring on April 4th, the Clippers made a deal to buy $32 million in carbon credits from Aspiration. That same day, Kawhi Leonard got a $28 million endorsement deal with Aspiration. In October of 2022, when Andre Cherney, the CEO of Aspiration,
Are they just laundering money?
Aspiration stepped down after a bid to go public as a special purpose acquisition company with a $2.3 billion valuation fell through, which is crazy, but also he was a speechwriter for Bill Clinton. And Cherney also worked on the Kerry campaign and wrote the Consumer Financial Protection Bill with Senator Warren. Anyway, Aspiration wasn't doing so well. They end their partnership with the Clippers in the 2022-23 season. This past March 2025, Aspiration files for bankruptcy. Then they were investigated for fraud, and Joe Sandberg has pled guilty to 2 counts of fraud and will face sentencing for defrauding investors and lenders of more than $248 million. So Aspiration crumbling, and the court records around Joe Sandberg's case are how we found out about a lot of Kawhi Leonard's story, but people are making this out to be like, oh, Stephen Ballmer got scammed by Joe Sandberg, but that doesn't seem like the full explanation. It seems like rich dudes want to make sure their team wins, and they guarantee their multi-million and billion-dollar investments bring in more money, and don't really consider facing the consequences if they break the rules to do it. Kawhi Leonard.
Rules? What rules? There can't be rules if you're rich. These rules do not apply to us. Check the poly market bets. Yeah, speaking of billionaires, though, how billionaires broke the NFL's most loyal fans. Yeah, you know, we get sold this idea that we're part of the team whenever we watch sports. These billionaires can literally just take the team wherever the fuck they want to take it. It's a club. It's a club. Like, that's really what it is. The team is a club of athletes that they hire to represent the club. And they play in whatever city provides them a stadium, that builds a stadium for them. Usually when a stadium is built,
getting paid more than
the city pays for it. Who paid for the LA Clippers stadium? Steve Ballmer, the owner of the LA Clippers and former CEO, paid for the Intuit Dome Stadium, with the construction costing over $2 billion. His funding was entirely private, without any taxpayer dollars. That's crazy. Usually it's the city that pays for that. That's insane that this is out of pocket for him. No wonder he doesn't want to lose any money on his investment. That's so crazy.
Bills fandom is a religion in Buffalo.
Buffalo all the way this time!
Through blizzards, heartbreak, and broken tables, the Bills have called this place home for the last 53 years. But starting next season, the Bills will move across the street to their new $2.1 billion home.
In fairness, people are really excited about this new stadium, but there are definitely fans who will be priced out.
Season tickets are going to get a little pricier.
Season ticket holders were told they would need to fork over potentially tens of thousands of dollars.
Some fans were told it will cost $50,000 for a single club-level seat.
And here's the kicker. Those aren't even the ticket prices.
Oh, there is the kicker.
Those numbers are just for the access to buy tickets down the line. So where does this leave the working class fans in Bills Mafia?
I was a season ticket holder for about 5 years. Of course, the new stadium kind of pushed some people away.
I've probably been to about 100 games in this stadium. I am really trying to savor every last moment here. I'm a single mom.
Like, they only play like 16 games a season every year, so to be at 100, that's like at least like 5 to 10 years of going.
I made this work. I made sure I got a second job to maintain my tickets.
I've been a season ticket holder since 1964, and this is my last season for season tickets.
You know, that's something George Carlin said, right? He's like, there's a big club and you ain't in it. Like, you ain't part of the team,
Telling
man.
the story of the dedicated Bills fans getting left behind by their billionaire owners explains so much about what's going on in the world of sports and even the American economy.
Yes.
Let's dig into it.
Let me take you back to how this stadium was built. It's not a straightforward story, so there's going to be some twists and turns and some details, but it's a really interesting one, and it's a story that is totally Buffalo. Here's what was happening behind the scenes. The Bills are owned by Terry Pegula and his wife, Kim Pegula. Terry is in his 70s. He's an energy guy. He built multi-billion-dollar business in drilling and energy in 2014. The Pegulas bought the Bills for $1.4 billion.
We all just bought a team. Our team, the Buffalo Bills.
10 years later, the investment's doing great.
That's crazy how he wasn't addressing all the fans. He was just addressing his wife.
Bills are valued at just under $6 billion. Around 2018 or so, the Bills were pushing toward pursuing a new stadium.
The Pegulas are now looking into the possibility of a new stadium.
Then in August 2021, everything changed. Governor Cuomo resigned, and his lieutenant governor, Kathy Hochul, stepped up to the top job, chief executive of New York State. Conveniently for the Bills, she grew up just a couple miles down the road from the stadium. She grew up a Buffalo Bills fan.
Go Bills, bring home that Super Bowl.
When Kathy Hochul became governor in late August 2021, the Bills deal started moving. The public didn't always know it. Things were kept kind of quiet, not silent, but quiet. Here's what the deal was. The price tag on the stadium when the deal was reached was $1.4 billion. The state was going to pitch in $600 million. Erie County was going to send over $250 million. So that's $850 million in taxpayer money.
I've been studying stadium deals for decades, and this is one of the worst I've ever seen.
That's Victor Matheson. He's an expert on stadium deals.
$850 million was more than we'd ever seen in any stadium in the United States, even after considering inflation, both in absolute dollar terms and pretty high in terms of relative portion being paid by the taxpayer. One of the things I always tell folks is be careful, sports fans, what you wish for, because that nicer stadium, it's going to be you paying for that. And I think a lot of Bills fans, are experiencing
one way or another,
a real
you're paying
sense
to
of
go
sticker
there.
shock.
What we
He's
hope
not
to
gonna
do
be
is
there.
really show in the stadium experience how some of those design decisions we have taken responded to
Give me somebody
things
else
that the Bills
going there.
fans really said, hey, this is important to us.
When I went in for the Bills experience, I told the guy right off, you can show me all the bells and whistles. I just want to have a beer in the parking lot, go to my seat, watch the game, and then I want to get out of there so I can get home.
No, you can't do that,
So
buddy.
you go and they can show you how the stadium looks, what's going to be new, how everything's at the seat. They even let you sit in seats that are similar there. I'm like, this all looks great, get me hyped up. And then we go in the office and they're like, all right, so for your seats, here's the cost of your PSLs. And I was like, okay.
So you're probably asking, what the heck is a PSL?
Yes.
Let's break it down.
Okay, so a personal seat license or a
liberation.
PSL is a payment that a season ticket holder pays right when a stadium is built just for the right to buy season tickets. So it doesn't actually buy you season tickets, but it gets you the ability and the right to buy season tickets.
What the?
Another way of looking at it is if you're joining a country club,
yes,
you pay an initiation fee for the privilege of joining the club.
We come to a place like this beautiful country club.
It's like I said, it's a club. It's a club that the billionaire owns.
And we
magnificent, really.
Make
You just pay to come watch his team play. That's all you're doing.
In this case, they go to the owner's pockets ultimately to help fund the construction of the stadium.
It was $5,000 a seat for mine. And then ticket prices doubled as well. When I was originally paying like around $2,500 for the season, it was in the $4,000 range.
The PSLs are going to be $6,000 a piece, but then also the ticket prices are going up. So right now, for 2 tickets, it's somewhere around $3,000, and those are going to go up to $4,500.
So it was $10,000 for our 2 seats. And then, like I said, the season tickets also have basically doubled in price.
The process of buying season tickets for the new stadium has been a real learning process for the fans.
What I know about it is it's saving the owner payment on a new stadium. Now it's getting footed by the fans. So
Bills Mafia is a loyal fan base. It is a giving fan base, but it is not the wealthiest, not by a long shot. The economics of Western New York have changed dramatically since the team's inception.
Remember when Buffalo first got its team back in early 1960s, right? Buffalo was one of the 25 largest metropolitan areas in the United States, had a very wealthy or at least solidly middle class industrial base.
Inconveniently for the Bills, that started to change at exactly the time the Buffalo Bills arrived in 1960s. Just like most other Rust Belt cities, Buffalo really struggled, crashed in the 80s when
It's always the exploitation of like the middle class in the United States.
And so the population started changing too. Except for Green Bay, Buffalo is the smallest market in the NFL. It's an older market, the income is less, the property values tend to be less. The corporate base is considerably smaller than nearly every other NFL city.
Buffalo is definitely not the most wealthiest place. We're all hardworking, community around here and everything. We're not LA, New York City. So we really take pride into what we do have.
It is an emotional season for many reasons. We decided to renew our season tickets, and I did get one for my daughter. Now I have 2 for next year. But it's a commitment, but this is our family legacy, and I would never want anything different.
Our family legacy is being a consumer of something that has nothing to do with us. I'm really good at pausing the video.
I am a small business owner, and luckily it's going well enough. But until I actually see firsthand what the pricing looks like in the new stadium, I can't really make those same decisions.
The stadium looks great, and it's going to be great, but I don't know, it just seems like a lot of money. We can take a couple vacations.
Yeah, you'd be way better off mentally taking a couple vacations with that money, yes.
I get it, it's a business. I do understand that, and I know it does cost a lot, but why should it go to the owners to help?
Especially since the Bills aren't going to win a fucking Super Bowl anytime soon.
They should have already, figured that out.
The owner of the Sabres and Bills, now worth $6.8 billion.
Fast forward 12 months, and he's now $800 million richer.
They are the richest household in New York outside of the Manhattan area. Just the value of their team has gone up so much in roughly the last decade that they could have paid every dollar of the construction cost of a new stadium just in the capital gains that they've gained in the appreciation of the Bills as a franchise.
Man, what's capital gains?
I've been a Bills fan for quite some time now, and they've given me purpose in a sense, something to always look forward to. Even when they let us down, it was still fun to go to.
I think billionaires should be spending more money on other people in general all the time. So I think they should be paying for a lot more of anything that they want to do. I'm in debt from opening a business. I'm in debt from college and my life. And it's like they just have so much money that I don't even think they think about it. So it'd be really nice sometimes if billionaires could just help out everybody a little bit more.
That's why they're billionaires, though, because they're not.
Twice to Afghanistan, once to Iraq.
Billionaires will create an issue such as, and then they'll create a charity to resolve that issue at a PR level. When they could have just solved the issue if they didn't exist to begin with.
3 Purple Hearts, Combat Infantry Badge, Parachutist Badge. I tried to ask for a veterans discount, and there was nothing. They had no wiggle room of any sort, and I wish they did. It would have been nice if maybe it made me think about getting it more if they had something like that, but no, there's nothing there.
For season ticket holders that have had tickets since '64, why are we getting a break? And I remember talking to our rep about that, and they just said there's nothing, no plan with that included. I was kind of going from feeling close to the team and all that to now it's business, right? Money, gotta have a new stadium.
We don't have that kind of money, and it shouldn't be on us.
The dynamic we're talking about here isn't unique to Bills Mafia. Other teams are using personal seat licenses too. Take the Washington Commanders. They're building a new stadium. It's going to cost about $3.7 billion. They're moving into it in 2030, and their owner has said, yeah, we're going to consider personal seat licenses.
So do fans have any way to slow this country clubification of American sports? Are we headed towards a future in which working class Americans just won't be able to afford seeing their favorite team in person? Well, there might be some solutions.
One single thing that should be done to try to balance the scales in public financing would be every major stadium deal should go before the voters. Prior to the Bills, the past 3, 4, 5 major referendums that had been put before voters in a variety of cities, like in Albuquerque, like in Kansas City, had actually lost.
Jackson County, Missouri voters rejecting that stadium sales tax extension for both the Chiefs and the Royals.
Voters do have a sense of fairness there, and about half of all cases where it's been put in front of voters have said, actually, no thank you. When things get done in the smoky back rooms with politicians, the teams almost...
people don't want to pay higher taxes on a fucking stadium, man. If you're putting these billions of dollars into schools or into teacher salaries or into actual effective infrastructure, that would make sense. Not for a fucking football team, man.
Always walk out with gigantic subsidies, like happened in Buffalo's case. But when you put it before actual voters, there's a much lower winning percentage.
Building the stadium with taxpayer dollars is one thing. Building up the infrastructure around the stadium is another really important thing to me that I wish we were hearing more about or was being more focused on than just the actual physical stadium itself. Because I want to see our money going towards things like better transportation to the stadium, lighting along the streets, along the private lots. it's just a shiny new thing and not thinking about any of the other factors that surround it.
An interesting thing about this new stadium is it's smaller than the current one. And that is a trend when you look at new stadiums across sports. It's not just a football thing. The idea is have less seats that, of course, are a little more expensive, creates more supply and demand.
One example
More
here
profit.
is, at the TD Bank Garden, that's where the Celtics play. You can buy a folding chair on the famous parquet court, right? So you're right there in the action. The cost of 2 seats on the court is roughly the same amount of ticket revenue as the Celtics generate from an entire upper deck section. So obviously they have a lot of incentive to cater to those handful of super premium experiences rather than cater to the typical fan. This is not necessarily about filling a stadium with 75,000 people. It might be about filling a stadium with several thousand of exactly the right type of fan.
This whole
The ones
story
with the
raises
big
the
wallet.
questions, who are sports for and where is this all headed?
I don't know. It seems like money's wrecks a lot of sports and stuff now.
Is it money or capitalism?
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get more Perfect Union in your feed. And if you have any ideas for stories that you would like for us to investigate, just drop them in the comments below.
Oh man, yeah, just everybody getting screwed over, while billionaires just keep their money in their pockets. But again, if you taxed the rich, such as the billionaires, the top, 1%, 0.1% in the nation, maybe we could have these little trinkets, and the team might be, owned by the state or the city, and you could vote on, I don't know, just vote on where they would play and all this other shit. But yeah, people don't want to pay taxes because we've been, embedded with the idea that taxes are bad. And when you spend taxes on shit like this, on stadiums that cost bajillions of dollars, for football teams, for somebody to have their own private business operate in that place, exclusively, or at least primarily, people don't want to pay for that. It kind of sucks, and then what else are you going to do with the stadium? Is it going to be available if there's a natural disaster? This is it's football season. No, we can't use it. Okay. Concerts, whatever else, community events that are going on. No, okay. Well, because your private team is playing there. Okay, got it. Yeah, why the fuck would people want to pay for that? It's the same thing, people in the United States get disillusioned with paying taxes because taxes are used for a bunch of bullshit, man. They fucking make bombs and, do wars, build F-35 airplanes and spend trillions of dollars on that just for it to be a piece of shit. We're so disillusioned in the United States with paying taxes that, the idea of when an actual idea does come along where we would improve infrastructure, like she was saying in this video, one of the fans was saying, to improve infrastructure along, not just with the stadium but around the stadium, that makes sense. But we get disillusioned, and we because we get screwed over. It's annoying. Yeah. All right, one more video. Let's do the inshittification of everything. Here's Democracy Now.
This is Democracy Now, democracynow.org.
Speed it up a little bit.
We end today's show with the acclaimed writer and tech activist Cory Doctorow. 3 years ago, he coined a term to describe how online platforms like Facebook degrade over time as platform owners seek to maximize profit. The phrase Doctorow came up with went viral. But due to FCC rules, we can't say it on the air. We'll just call it an bleepification. The bleep is covering a word that rhymes with hit. It's also the title of Cory Doctorow's new book. Cory, welcome to Democracy Now! The book title, An Bleepification, Why Everything Suddenly Got Worse and What to Do About It. Why don't you start from the beginning? What do you mean by this term?
So it's a way to talk about how the platforms go bad, but it's also a way to talk about why the platforms go bad. So we can see this characteristic pattern of decay in platforms, where first they're good to their end users. They find a way to lock those users in. And once it's hard for the users to leave, they can make things worse for those end users to tempt in business customers. Those business customers also get locked to the platform. And so then things are made bad for them too, because they can't readily depart. And eventually you end up with a platform where all the value has been harvested by shareholders and executives. And there's just kind of a mingy homeopathic residue of value left behind for
the enshittification of sports then, huh?
The platform users. And yet, because of these broader factors that are about the social critique, the political and economic critique, it's hard for us to leave these platforms. And they sort of shamble on.
So tell us how it works. Take one example, whether you're talking about Google, whether you're talking about Twitter, whether you're talking about Facebook, and talk about how they started and where they're headed.
I think Facebook's the canonical case, right? So Mark Zuckerberg, 2006, wants to open up beyond American college kids. You don't need a .edu address anymore. So he says, come to Facebook. We're the platform that, unlike MySpace, will never spy on you. And we're only going to show you the things that you asked to see. So if you subscribe to some people, that's what's going to be in your feed. And so people pile in and they lock themselves into through something called the collective action problem.
Soon
which
TikTok,
is a way of saying, you love your friends, but they're a pain in the butt. And even though you all want to hang out and play a board game this weekend, you can't agree on what board game to play. Much less, even though you all agree that you hate Facebook, you can't agree on when it's time to leave or where to go or how to reestablish yourself. So you get stuck there. And once you're stuck there, Mark Zuckerberg starts to make things worse for you to make things better for business customers. So they go to the advertisers and they say, remember we told these rubes we weren't going to spy on them. Total lie. We spy on them with every hour that God sends. Give us small dollars. We will target ads to those people with just incredible fidelity, and we'll spend as much money as it takes to stop ad fraud. So you give us $1 to show an ad to a user.
People are going back to what?
And publishers get a similar deal. You know, we told these users we wouldn't stick stuff in their feed they didn't ask to see, but we'll make an exception for you. Put stuff on Facebook from your website, little excerpts, link back to your own website. We'll just cram it into the eyeballs of people who never asked to see it. Some of them will click the link. You'll get to monetize that traffic. And so they become locked into. They become dependent on those users who are dependent on each other. And now ad prices go up, ad targeting fidelity goes down,
Mike and Majority Report post there? Oh my God. I guess. I mean, if that's where people are, then yeah, as content creators, you have to post where people are. To get eyeballs. It's just they get engagement. Yeah, I guess it's better than going to fucking Truth Social or some shit. I wonder if it's bots or not. It's probably boomers, that want to argue with somebody because all their friends died. Damn, that's dark.
Fraud explodes. Procter & Gamble used to spend $200 million a year on surveillance ads. In 2017, they took that to zero and saw a $0 drop in sales because all those ads were just disappearing down the fraud hole. Meanwhile, publishers are finding they have to put more and more of their content onto Facebook in order to just be shown to their own subscribers. So they have to substitute for their own website.
I have... Oh man, it's a small town though.
Yeah. And even, you put a link in the bottom of your page, they're not even going to show that to anyone because maybe the link's a malicious link. So now you have all the value harvested for Facebook. And they're in this very brittle equilibrium because the difference between I hate this place, but I can't stop coming to it, and I hate this place, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, it's very... like I have that problem with Earth. Yeah, every day I wake up and I'm still here.
Brittle. You take one scandal, one live stream mass shooting, people bolt for the exits, and then Facebook panics. And being tech bros, they call it pivoting. And so one day, Mark Zuckerberg arises from his sarcophagus and he says, hearken to me, brothers and sisters, for I've had a vision. I know I told you that the future would consist of arguing with your racist uncle, using this primitive text interface I made in my dorm room to non-consensually rate the bangability of my fellow undergraduates. But actually, I'm going to transform you and everyone you love into a legless, sexless, low polygon, heavily surveilled cartoon character so I can imprison you in a virtual world I stole from a 25-year-old satirical cyberpunk novel that I call the metaverse, right? And that is the final stage of in bleepification. The platform is a giant pile of bleep.
So let's go to what you wrote about
the
President
metaverse will
Trump
forever
and
live
the
in my
platform
memories.
owners. In the United States, you write, at the 2025 inauguration, Trump spoke from within a decorative semicircle of tech billionaires. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, former Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, Apple CEO Tim Cook, TikTok CEO Shou-Ji Chu, and of course, Elon Musk. These men intervened in many ways on Trump's behalf. So if you can talk about President Trump, his circle of...
a lot of young people came out for Charlie Kirk on Facebook, too. It wasn't just Republican uncles. Yeah, I mean, I can see that because I would imagine he would drive them to Facebook from wherever he was gaining them from, like the younger audience for Charlie Kirk, because, that's going to be the best place for him, right?
Of platform owners,
because like Facebook is just like massive on like the disinformation and the constant in your face type of feed. I would say more than others, just because of the manipulative algorithm that it has to feed you, right? Ben Shapiro did well on Facebook.
Talk about Donald Trump's election representing the ultimate triumph of emblepification of the political realm.
So, this is a theory about not just why the platforms are bad now, but you have to interrogate why they were better before. What stopped them from going bad? Because we didn't invent greed in like 2017. So what was it that stopped them from going bad? My theory is they had constraints. They had to worry about competitors, but then we let them buy all their competitors. They had to worry about regulators, but when you boil a company down to, or an industry down to like 5 giant websites filled with screenshots of text from the other 4, they have so much profits from not competing, and they find it so easy to agree that they capture regulators. They also had to worry about their workers, because tech workers have been so powerful. Even though they weren't unionized, they were in enormous demand, super productive. Then there's a National Bureau of Economic Research paper that estimates that the average Silicon Valley worker was contributing $1 million a year to the bottom line of their employers. So their employers really valued them. They couldn't afford to lose them. They couldn't replace them. And you take all that away and you get an environment in which people can do bad things with impunity. They don't face any consequences. And Trump, that was his promise. I'll neuter the National Labor Relations Board. I'll get rid of antitrust unless you make me angry, in which case I'll do antitrust until you use the Trump coin tip jar on the Resolute desk to give me some money. And I'm going to let you buy as many of your competitors as you want and not have to worry about any of these external sources of discipline. And, even the best of us without discipline
right now with
go
the media.
horribly wrong. This is the problem of people who can just shout at other people. We all have writers we love who eventually get so big they can tell their editors to go to hell, and then their books get really terrible. But Howard Hughes, if you gave him some constraints, would make you some pretty cool airplanes. Take away the constraints, that guy starts wearing Kleenex boxes on his feet and saving his urine in jars, right? So what these platforms aspire to is their own demise, right? It's what Trump aspires to be in a world in which no one can tell him no, and in which every bad idea that kind of materializes in the vacant spaces in his head becomes a policy. And so, poopification is the collapse of discipline, and America's ruling class has managed to neutralize all the discipline that it ever faced. Their weirdest, worst ideas are the ones that we're all stuck with.
What do you think of the Trump deal that would put his billionaire ally, Larry Ellison, who became the richest man in the world for a few weeks ago, in charge of TikTok?
I think it shows you that the origin of this phenomenon is not users making bad consumption decisions. It's not executives being greedy. It's a policy environment that's like embleepogenic, right? That when you have an environment that says you can do bad things and you can get away with it, then it doesn't really matter who's running the companies, right? Like we can say, Larry Ellison might be worse than the guy no one's ever heard of who runs TikTok. But is he really going to be worse than it? I mean, TikTok thumbed the scales for right-wing candidates in the last election cycle. And they were able to do that because they operate in total opacity. We have laws like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. This is a Bill Clinton law from 1998. Section 12.1 of that law makes it a felony. Like you go to jail for 5 years and pay a $500,000 fine for reverse engineering stuff to modify it. So if you wanted to put a different algorithm in your TikTok client or just stop it from stealing your data while you use it, that's a crime, right? And so, we could have said, rather than we are going to replace one guy who fills a, tech supervillain shaped hole with another guy who fills a tech villain shaped hole in TikTok C-suite, we could have said we're going to empower people, co-ops, nonprofits, startups, and even big commercial rivals to reverse engineer the TikTok app, to change how the algorithm works, for you so that you see the things that you want to see, so that it becomes a platform that's responsive to you. And just as when we made it legal to block ads on the web, it's not legal on apps because you have to reverse engineer them. We instill discipline in companies who had to worry that if you made the ads too obnoxious on their website, you'd go install an ad blocker. 51% of web users have installed an ad blocker. It's the biggest consumer boycott in human history. And so they have to think twice before they make it worse. When you take away that discipline, when you say, okay, well, you can do whatever you want and it can defend themselves, you have the full panoply of all the things you can do with digital tools, where you can change the rules from moment to moment. You can change the recommendation system. You can, at your whim, alter the game. I call it the Darth Vader NBA. I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it further. And we're defenseless in front of it. You get the worst of all technological worlds, a world where technology torments you endlessly and never saves you from that torment.
Talk about Google, how it started and where it is now, and what it's taking from. I mean, it's not only hurting consumers, it's not only hurting people who are trying to communicate, but businesses as well.
Yeah, sure. So, Google is a company that has had one really good idea. It was in the last millennium. They made a really good search engine. Virtually everything they made in-house since has crashed and burned. Almost everything they make is a company they bought from someone else in violation of antitrust law in mergers that were waved through under both Republicans and Democrats. And they pretend they're, Willy Wonka's idea factory. They're just like rich Uncle Pennybags buying other kids' toys, right? And they eventually became not just too big to fail, they became too big to care. In 2019, as we found out in the DOJ's lawsuit against Google last year, they, having acquired a 90% search market share, stalled out on growth. Obviously, right? How are you going to grow your search when you've got a 90% market share? We're already all using it, and we're already using it for everything. I mean, yes, they could breed 1 billion humans to maturity and make them Google customers. They called that product Google Classroom, but it takes a minute to mature. And meanwhile, they want growth now because investors want growth now. So in the memos that the DOJ published, we see this epic battle play out for the soul of Google. You have these two characters. One's this guy.
No, computer, hang on. Live, computer, live. It's not living. I'm doing too much. Uh-oh. I'm losing there. I'm gonna get off that page. Is it this page too?
Prabhakar Raghavan, ex-McKinsey guy, came from Yahoo. He's in charge of search revenue. And he has this idea. What if we make the search worse? What if we turn off all the stuff that tries to guess the best match for your query so that when you search, you don't get the best match. You have to search again and maybe again and maybe again. Each time we get to show you more ads, right? That's growth. Now, he's opposed by this guy called Ben Gomes, who's, kind of the epitome.
Google sucks now?
Me of an OG Googler. He is the guy who built out their server infrastructure. He started with one server under a desk at Stanford, built the global network of data centers, and now he's in charge of search technology. And in the memos, you can see Gomes is palpably horrified by this idea to make this thing that he's worked so hard for worse, just for this venal purpose. And then they have this fight. And the fight plays out in the memos. And basically, Prabhakar Raghavan and his allies' argument is, I don't really care if this makes you feel icky because it's going to make us more money and we will face no consequences. Now, it's not just that Google was shorn of the consequences of making their product worse. They also used to have to really value their workers. But because the workers thought of themselves as temporarily embarrassed entrepreneurs and thought, well, we're being treated really well now, why do we need a union? As soon as supply caught up with demand and you got 500,000 tech layoffs in the last 3 years, the workers lost the power to discipline them too.
So in this last minute, though we're going to do a part two, is there a breaking point beyond which even locked-in users rebel against these tech platforms? Yeah. Where do you see the fight back?
So there is a breaking point. I don't think we want to reach it, right? There's a breaking point where people who live in the urban wildlife interface are like, oh, my house keeps burning down every year. I guess I'm going to leave now that everything I own has been destroyed. Ideally, you'd want those people to leave beforehand. So people are on these platforms because the platforms do good things for them. People are on Facebook because it's where the people with the same rare disease as them meet, or it's where the people in the country they emigrated away from meet, or it's where their affinity group meets. And we don't want those things to be destroyed by a forced departure. We want to evacuate the platforms. And I think that in the European Union, there's this effort underway to create like portability. So if you leave Facebook or Twitter, you might be able to go to another platform. Maybe that's Blue Sky, maybe it's Mastodon, maybe it's something that hasn't been invented yet, and still stay in touch with the people you left behind. So you don't have to choose between the people you love and the platform you hate.
So we're going to talk about Blue Sky, Mastodon, and much more in part 2. But right now we have to wrap up the show. Cory Doctorow is a science fiction author, activist, journalist.
Everything for profit, man.
Frontier Foundation. His new book
Everything
is
for profit, including selling you a worse experience.
Why everything suddenly got worse and what to do about it.
Because when they sell you a worse experience, they can come back and sell you
a
better experience.
October 17th, I'll be in Santa Fe at the Santa Fe Film Festival, where the new film Steal the Story, Please is going to be.
Will they mention Threads? Will anybody ever mention Threads ever? No.
October 18th, I'll be in Woodstock 19th, Saugerties.
We're on the only platform that people don't talk about. But it gets
Thanks
used.
for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube.
Extensively.
Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
All right. I think that's it for me tonight. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. Saw Dean Withers wanted to see how it was. The comments let him know. Dean Withers wanted to see how Threads was? Is that what you're saying?